This amazing musical lineage that Eel Pie's got. In the 60s, the Stones, the Who, I mean, you name it, Yardbirds, Pink Floyd, Hendrix, everyone played here on Eel Pie Island.
The tide takes us to Eel Pie Island. You can only reach it by boat or footbridge, hidden away in the London suburbs. This private island has long held an almost mythical place in British music history, once home to the legendary Eel Pie Hotel.
This is where the hotel was, where all the shows in the 60s used to happen. The Stones and the Yardbirds and everyone.
Would perform there?
Yeah.
Amazing.
For the Mystery Jets, this isn't just where the band began, it's home. Frontman Blaine Harrison and founding member Henry, Blaine's dad, take us back to where their story started.
I have a plane.
They even found poetry in the sky, naming themselves after the Mystery Jets flying above.
When I was a kid, my dad brought out a copy of the Richmond Times, and there was a story in there about all the residents complaining about Twickenham and Richmond being in the Heathrow flight path, and the headline on the newspaper said, "All hail the Misery Jets." He brought the newspaper to me, and I thought, oh, we've got to write that on our bass drum. And I wasn't very good at spelling, still not very good at spelling, and I put a Y instead of an I, and then he said, well, chuck in a T and it's the Mystery Jets, it's a much better name. And I was like, great.
Now, most teenagers kind of rebel against their parents, but you ended up being in a band with your dad, and without sounding like your sort of therapist, what was that father-son dynamic like in the band?
Well, what I'd say about that is that he started a band with me. I think really, you know, Henry had the idea, he had the dream, which was to make music with myself and with Will, who was the other kind of founding Jet.
Loving music was how he and his dad bonded. Blaine was born with spina bifida, a condition affecting his spine and leg muscles.
I suppose like part of that probably relates to me having a disability, because I wasn't able to sort of play football necessarily and things like that. So music, my dad saw that music was a way that I could kind of like be involved with other kids.
But she said, you remind me of someone.
20 years since Mystery Jets' debut album, now their 7th lands. A hole to see the sky through. This track filmed inside artist James Turrell's Sky Space installation in Cornwall. It takes its title and cover from Yoko Ono's minimalist artwork of the same name.
The way that you frame your view of the world kind of shapes the way that you see your own life. And I think there's something about this kind of infinite possibility of looking through this hole to see the sky through that instantly started inspiring music. A lot of people are having a hard time, and I think this just feels like a reminder that there is hope out there, and that there is optimism to be had, just if you can change the way that you look at the world.
There's been a big backlash about AI and its impact on the music industry. Do you think we need an intervention from the government?
I think there is definitely a movement against it. The scary part of that is that a band such as ourselves, if we were to take on some of the big, you know, AI companies, it would be a David versus Goliath situation, because these are big tech companies in Silicon Valley. There's no denying that AI is going to be an incredible tool, but I think this idea that one day people will be listening to all these AI-generated artists and not really care about it, I don't think that's true. I think people do care. I can't see a time where we're all going to music festivals and cheering on avatars. You know, we really do need the government to recognise the contribution that, you know, indie touring artists make to the economy. One day they might be Coldplay, one day they might be Ed Sheeran, or Arctic Monkeys. You know, all of those bands started. The first time I saw Arctic Monkeys, they were our opening band in a venue in Stockton upon Tees, and they played to 6 people, and 5 of them were in the Mystery Jets. And, you know, 2 years later, they were headlining Glastonbury Festival. I would urge Andy Burnham to sort of follow his heart. I know he's a music man, I know it's incredibly important to him, so let's put that money and that energy into something that matters. That song, Soul River, was written on this piano. We had this dear friend of the band who would come to a lot of our shows, and he worked in the boatyard downstairs, and he'd just blast our songs out. He had a difficult time, you know, with his mental health, and during the pandemic, he took his own life, and you know, like we were absolutely devastated. I think the whole island was devastated because he had become this kind of guardian spirit of Eel Pie Island. We said, well, he deserves his own song, and then we came back to this music that we wrote on the piano and was inspired by this sound of this kind of this wonderful soul music kind of drifting over the river.
If you could pack one Mystery Jets song and listen to it on repeat on the island, what would it be?
Can I pick two?
I'm going to have to push you. You're going to have to pick one.
Okay, I would probably say that it's the song Making Dens, which is the title track of our first record, because it's a song which was written in our studio here on the island, and it was a process of discovery. It was us landing on Eel Pie and kind of pulling things out of the boatyard, scrap metal, shopping trolleys, anything we could find. It's got the swans in the background that you can hear and the river behind me. And it's a kind of, it's kind of the ultimate Eel Pie song in a way. It's a bunch of 18-year-olds and a dad making a racket on an island in the Thames.
I have a plane.
The spirit of Mystery Jets is everywhere you turn.
Goes on its way.
Eel Pie Island feels like a giant playground to imagine, a hidden gem that's easy to miss, but impossible to forget.
Flies high at sea.